So good morning, everybody. It's my absolute pleasure to moderate this session, and thank you both for your remarks. I think nice scene setting for us in terms of what I think is going to be a really interesting day. And you've left an impression in our minds in terms of the octopus, but also some positivity, I think, at the end of your remarks. So we've a lot to get into, so let me just jump right in. President Sleijpen, following the recent Governing Council meetings, monetary policy has been characterised by President Lagarde as being in a good place. So do you agree?
Yeah, let me first say that sitting here very close to a Christmas tree and almost something that looks like a throne, feel a little bit like Santa Claus. But anyway, that was not... coming back to your question, are we still in a good place? Yes, I think we're still in a good place. When you are in a good place, it sounds like that's a place you never want to leave. So I also said on a few occasions, maybe one should describe it as a conditional good place. Conditions, circumstances can change and make you leave that good place. But I would say at this point in time, we're in a good place. We have a meeting of the Governing Council in a couple of weeks, a monetary policy meeting. And as you know, we take monetary policy decisions. It's data-driven, meeting by meeting, and then we have a new look at the data. We will have new projections then also giving us a better feel about where inflation is going and the euro area economy is going, and we'll make up our mind again.
Very good. Governor, on a similar theme, if we kind of look ahead, maybe with 2 to 3 kind of horizon in terms of macroeconomic projections, how would you kind of describe, or what do you think are the kind of key downside or upside risks to the inflation outlook?
Well, I think one of the characteristics of this whole year, or at least since the 20th of January, has been a period of uncertainty and also unpredictability, and I make that distinction deliberately. And I think that remains a characteristic that at the moment I can't see disappearing. All right. I mean, I think it's fair to say there's less uncertainty now than there was perhaps back in April. But as far as, and I think that affects how the economies function, that affects about how businesses make decisions. In particular, I think we're still in a period where businesses are trying to work out what their supply chains should be in the future. So when it comes to inflation itself, as Olaf just said, which I agree with completely, I think we're in a good place right now. I do worry a bit about where services inflation sits, which is it's higher than it should be. I do worry a bit as to what I see happening to food inflation, but expectations appear to be pretty well grounded. I mean, people understand that we are absolutely committed to delivering on our 2% target in the medium term, but I think it would be a mistake to conclude that the inflation target has been achieved, full stop. I think there's still risks out there that we should just focus on carefully.
Thanks for that. And maybe just to change tack slightly, President, in some countries, central bank independence is being questioned. And I suppose my question to you is, do you think that's a risk in the euro area? And what can national central banks do to kind of build and maintain that trust, include thinking about the DNB in terms of how do you think about that and what do you do about that?
I think that I referred to it in my speech as well. I think in Europe we have the rule of law, we have strong institutions. Also, in Europe, institutions are sometimes coming under pressure, but I don't think there's a also looking at public opinion, policymakers, politicians are saying that at least at this point in time, There's a big threat when it comes to central bank independence. Having said that, central bank independence is, I mean, there's a certain reason why it's there. And this is the strong belief that monetary policy should be made by an independent authority that takes a longer term perspective. And we know by experience that this is a good choice. But it's in the law, and the law is, as it should be, decided in the end by the people. So it means that you should not take it for granted, that you should constantly show people what you're doing, why you're doing it. As I always say, at the other side of the same coin, so on the one side you have central bank independence, and the other side is accountability. So being transparent, open about what you're doing to policymakers, politicians, parliaments, the media, but also to the general public, is extremely important. And in that, you also have to, let's say, adapt to modern times. And that's also what you see. A lot of central banks are using social media and stuff like that. And I think, that's part of the communication strategy that, let's say, is building the foundations for central bank independence.
I think I see the Governor kind of nodding. I think you're saying a lot in terms of transparency, accountability. Governor, do you want to add anything to that? And actually, Frank Elderson, a former colleague of yours, would have given an excellent speech in terms of the rule of law and its importance a couple of months back as well. But Governor, do you want to touch on anything?
No, I mean, I think that last comment, I mean, I agree with Olaf again, but I think the last comment in particular is important because at the heart of this is that central bank independence is a political question. It's a question for the legitimate democratic leadership to decide if they want to delegate an important decision like monetary policy to an independent bank. But once they've made that decision, which I think personally the evidence is it's the right decision, accountability needs to be exercised by the institution that's been given the responsibility. And how does that accountability get exercised? And it is through transparency. It is through adapting to a world that is adapting. I mean, Olaf mentioned social media. Now, there are limits to my participation in social media, but I completely get that, if that is the way the world sort of is learning to understand news or to receive news, then we have to work with it rather than resist it.
No, for sure. Maybe just something for you both to think about. And President, you spoke a lot about Europe and moving to that kind of higher growth path and in the medium term in your speech. And there was a recent IMF regional economic outlook for Europe highlighted the need for Europe to overcome this perilous policy drift in structural reforms. I suppose, is there anything additional that you'd like to add to what you already said in terms of your speech, or do you even agree with that statement that was in the IMF report? And Governor, I'll go to you as well. So just a two-hander on this one.
No, I just would like to subscribe what the IMF is saying in this respect. As I said, the European economy it's not doing badly. Actually, it could have been worse. I expected it to do worse, to be honest, beginning of this year. So I think it's more resilient than at least I thought. But at the same time, if you look at where our potential growth level is, it's relatively low. And if I look at the economy that I know best, that's the Dutch economy. If we have this year, we probably will have a growth rate of 1.5%, which is more actually than we expected and we projected earlier this year. But it's close to potential growth. We have still a very tight labor market, and we still have a positive output gap, which is actually looking at the challenges that lie ahead, which is, I mean, you really should do something about the potential growth level. Monetary policy cannot help. I mean, it can help basically by keeping prices stable. Fiscal policy, I also have my doubts whether that can help in this respect. And there are also limits to what it can do given the challenges in that area. So the key solution here, next to the issues I mentioned in my speech, is indeed structural reform. At the same time, that is extremely complicated, also from a political point of view. But I think we should continue to advocate this.
Thank you. Governor, do you want to?
Yeah, I mean, well, probably three things I'd like to say. Firstly, we're now talking about the Draghi and Letta reports. But that's because they're the latest reports in a long series of reports. And we need to, we are not for want of ideas, and we're not for want of solutions. We are, what we do need is a bit of courage, actually, to get on and implement things. And at one level, it's not a problem if you're prepared to accept living standards that are lower than they could be. And I'm not sure that the people of Europe are in that place. So in my view, we need to just get on and do. And I know it's easy for me sitting here in, and saying that. But I think that is what we need. I don't think we need more people to give us more ideas as to what to do. We've got those. Secondly, I do think that, and this is something for all of us to be thinking about, we need to put together a better narrative of Europe's potential than exists. At the moment, the narrative that exists seems to me to be too technical to resonate with people. Because you have to build a consensus and a demand for change. And with the wider public, if you want to do some of the, if you want to realize the potential in the European economy, you have to build a consensus and a demand for change. And you do that partly by having the ideas which you already got, but mainly by developing a persuasive narrative for it. And we don't have one. We actually have things that we've labeled in very technical ways, the Savings and Investment Union, which only means something to the people in this room, probably. A banking union, make the single market work. Actually, we need to go beyond that. And it's not straightforward, otherwise it would have been done. But I think it's needed. And the final thing I'd say is that all of us in Europe need to spend a bit less time, and certainly the decision makers, we need to spend a bit less time worrying about tariffs in the United States and a bit more time fixing the tariffs we have in our own internal market and building the new trading relationships that we need with the rest of the world, or at least those parts of the rest of the world that want to be part of a rules-based international order.
Okay, so some clear takeaways there, persuasive narrative, I think, resonating. And a further question to you both. I mean, as you've spoken about, we've all spoken about, it's in our the ECB financial stability reviews, our own financial stability reviews about the global economy becoming more fragmented and geopolitical issues and different economic blocs emerging, and I think Europe is recommitting to multilateralism. But we've two small open economies that you are the governors over in terms of Ireland and the Netherlands, and are both exposed to these developments. So I appreciate the end of your last point was about not focusing on tariffs, but maybe broader how do you see some of these challenges and also the kind of transmission channels that we see around geopolitics and fragmentation playing out? So, President, maybe to you first.
The European Union is far from perfect, but it's for an small and open economy, and actually even for the somewhat more bigger economies in the European Union. So it's not only for Ireland and the Netherlands, but also for Germany and France. It's the only way forward, especially in the times that we are living in. And this is a difficult message to bring across, and also you can do it as Gabriel was saying, and in a technical manner, but to bring it across to the people is complicated. We are in the Netherlands at the moment in the process of formation of a new government, and one of the things that we are saying is among the list of priorities is basically choose Europe, more Europe, be involved in Europe. Because for a country like the Netherlands, this is, and also, if I may say so, for Ireland, but again, also for Germany, also for France, I think it's key. And I totally agree with what Gabriel said. Let's not worry so much about particular tariffs on particular products being imposed by the US, but about what we can do to remove the obstacles that are still there. And if you talk to businesses, if you talk to investors, they still say we have 27 countries, 27 economies, because yes, we have a single market, but the rules, and the devil is always in the detail, are still different from one place to the other. And let's really try to remove those last bunch of obstacles. Yeah.
Thank you. Governor, would you like to add?
I mean, in the sense of the importance of multilateralism, and just taking it beyond Europe, because I think a lot of the challenges that exist in the world at the moment are global ones. And they're not going to, whatever some people think, they're not going to be resolved by individual countries taking individual actions. They need to involve people working together and on a multilateral basis, people talking to each other, people engaging with each other, people listening to each other. That, for me, remains, my views on this have not changed, notwithstanding everything else that's going on. What's from my international engagements that I've had this year, what's pretty clear is that most of the world, sorry, that's a bit of an exaggeration, isn't it? Most of the people I have engaged with across the world actually want to continue to work cooperatively and collaboratively to meet these common challenges. So I think we just need to pick up that baton and just run with it. That's, I don't know if that answers your question, but I feel strongly.
No, it does, between both of you, and I think we could see that when we were in Washington, the IMF meetings. So that clock is saying 11 minutes, but I know that actually, we want to finish on time, and that's a job of a moderator for 10:15, just to not throw the schedule out of whack. So I'm going to finish up with two final questions, one on digital euro. From that, so obviously you're around the Governing Council table where the digital euro is being discussed. How do you think the issuance of the digital euro can help protect European strategic autonomy and strengthen resiliency for European retail payments? So again, to both of you. Governor, would you like to go first?
Okay, let me go first. Firstly, the digital euro is coming, and my advice to everybody interested in it is to focus on how they're going to take advantage of the fact that it's coming. Okay, I'm jumping the gun and assuming the European Parliament is going to endorse all the stuff, but honestly, I think it's a no-brainer. It is a no-brainer for Europe. It's a no-brainer for the financial system in Europe. It's a no-brainer actually for the banks in Europe. and it's definitely a no-brainer for the public in Europe. So we need to modernize our payment systems, which actually are not as advanced as they should be today. And you only need to go to the Singapore FinTech Festival, which I went to last year, actually, to see what's happening in the world of payment systems, to realize that we are behind. But secondly, the world is moving in a digital direction. And we, central banks, need to move with it. So I think that digital euro is going to give us, it's basically going to be a digital version of cash. And it's going to enable us to modernize, as I said, our payment systems and give us more control of the infrastructure in which so much economic activity is based. At the moment, as I said, our systems are outdated, but they're also dominated by non-European players. And however collaboratively and et cetera we can be with non-European players, at the end of the day, something as fundamental as what are essentially the blood vessels of the economy need to be controlled by us. So I think that's partly what the digital euro is going to do for us. And the ECB itself, we've been working on this, and the moment the legislation goes through, we're ready. We will be ready.
Thank you. President.
Maybe just to, I agree with everything Gabriel said. Maybe to add that, at least in my country, banks are not very enthusiastic about the digital euro. I don't know how it is in Ireland, because they feel it's competition. And I think it's very important to underline that's not what we want. That's not why we're introducing the digital euro. It shouldn't be competition. We have to collaborate here. So the digital euro is, as I try to explain it very often to the Dutch public, it's a digital banknote. We have banknotes, it's public money. This is a digital form of the banknote. And I think at the same time, I very much applaud the initiatives that are being taken in Europe by banks to come to a truly integrated retail payments market and system. We have the European Payments Initiative. There are also other initiatives out there. And I think they should go hand in hand. And it's not about competition between the central bank and the banks, but it's about collaboration.
Okay, and Sonia, if you allow me, take 30 seconds, I'll ask you, and I think it's kind of coming through in terms of what we've spoken out. What would you say is the biggest risk and the biggest opportunity? So risk and opportunity from you both in relation to Europe as we move forward. I think I could kind of deduce it a little bit, but maybe just to hear from you in terms of a takeaway.
I think the biggest risk, I can come up with a whole list of risks. Sure. We also recently published our overview of financial stability. I'm going to mention one that's maybe not so explicitly in this list, and that I think comes down to what we've been talking about this morning. The biggest risk is that we do not act as Europe. And we have plenty of ideas, plenty of analysis, just like Gabriel said, but let's implement it. And I think that's the biggest risk. And if we do that, that's also the biggest opportunity.
Very nice. Two sides of the same coin.
Well, Olaf has just answered in exactly the same way I was about to. And I'm not going to invent something just to be different.
So
I agree with
consensus rather than groupthink.
Indeed.
So listen, thank you very much, and let's show our appreciation. Thanks a million.